Good evening, Don't Unfriend Me Nation. This is Matthew from the Don't Unfriend Me show / Breaking Truth. I am here to bring you, I don't know what this is. This is Joe Biden doing Joe Biden. He decides posthumously from the event of shooting down the balloons to finally hold a press conference and tell us what's going on without really telling us anything that we already didn't know or assume. Found out it wasn't aliens. I'm going to go through this with you tonight. We're going to watch it together, and this will be my first time watching it, and something a little bit new. Usually I prepare a little bit more, but I'm going to do it off the cuff because I feel that Joe Biden does everything that way, so why should I be any different? Folks, stick around. I will be right back after this wonderful message from, let's do Judge Janine. Thanks.
Hi, Matthew. It's Judge Janine, and I wanted to congratulate you on the Don't Unfriend Me show at the Dumb Show. I was thinking about that whole thing the other day when I thought it was right after Donald Trump was elected that everybody on the left started unfriending anyone on the right. So I'm glad you're calling them out. You've got a great name for the show. And I hope that you're true to the values, conservative values, Republican values, and that you call those people out. I think it's great. And I know you've got 135,000 followers. I hope you get a lot more. And just keep the faith. Keep fighting. I think we may get America back. But in the meantime, we've got a steep hill to climb. And you're one of the fighters, one of the patriots. So thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you, Judge, for the nice message. Episode 442 of Breaking Truth. And this is Don't Unfriend Me. You can find the show at The Dumb Show across all social media and podcasts. And you can also visit the website at thedumbshow.com to get some cool shirts and hats and coffee and all that other stuff. Let's get to it. Joe Biden doing Joe Biden. This one should be interesting. Joe Biden released a video / press conference, and it was live, but it seemed recorded to me. Like, I know it was live, and I know the reporters were there, but it was so canned and so, I don't know, DuPont plastic that it just seemed completely inauthentic. And usually when a president of the United States maybe makes a mistake or there's a little lightheartedness to the news that they're presenting, sometimes they will be a little coy with the reporters. And in this case, there was none of it. Joe was just struggling to get through the words. And I only saw about 25 seconds of this entire video on a quick news bite. And I already got that feeling. Now, I have not watched it in its entirety. I'm excited to do that with you. I mean, so excited. I can't even barely take it. But from what I saw from the 25 seconds, this is a drudgery, but we're going to do it together. I will try to make it as fun as humanly possible. Let's get to Joe Biden's speech.
Last week, in the immediate aftermath of the incursion by China's high-altitude balloon, our military, through the North American Aerospace Defense Command, so-called NORAD, closely scrutinized.
It's not so-called NORAD, it's NORAD. Maybe he was saying it's so called NORAD. I don't know. We're already going to start.
Our airspace, including enhancing our radar to pick up more slow-moving objects above our country, around the world. In doing so, they tracked 3 unidentified objects, one in Alaska, Canada, and over Lake Huron in the Midwest. They acted in accordance with established parameters for determining how to deal with unidentified aerial objects in U.S. airspace. At their recommendation.
Wait a second. So already I take issue, Your Honor. I object. So they referenced a guide that obviously doesn't exist. Because according to Joe Biden and his administration, with the first Chinese balloon, you know, the one that was the size of 3 school buses that they were afraid to shoot down over the Pacific because it would hit people in the middle of the water, that one, they checked a reference guide all of a sudden. Well, then why did Joe Biden have to tell them to shoot it down? And then the Joint Chiefs say no. And then if they checked this updated reference guide and then it said remotely to shoot down all of the balloons, why did they even have to ask Joe? See, the interesting thing is most autonomous defense systems don't have to check with the president on what to do. They will check their command and control and their chain of command to go ahead and execute the current standing order. And sometimes they don't even need to get chain of command approval. You just execute your standing order because that's why it's called a standing order. In case this happens, do this, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So the first balloon, there obviously was no standing precedent or order because they didn't shoot it down until after it had traversed throughout the United States and ended up off the coast of South Carolina where they went ahead and shot it down. The other three, we still don't know what they are, but I'm interested here. Those balloons, they went ahead and shot down and engaged. So obviously, the standing order or the SOP had changed. Joe Biden didn't say that. He said they referenced it, but according to the first balloon, there was no reference guide to begin with. So somewhere between China balloon off South Carolina number 1 and number 2, 3, and 4, we've had an update to the way we engage an unidentified flying object in U.S. airspace or over U.S. water. But we haven't heard that yet. Let's see if we hear it in the upcoming minutes.
I gave the order to take down these 3 objects due to hazards to civilian commercial air traffic and because we could not rule out the surveillance risk of sensitive facilities. We acted.
Wait a second. What sensitive facilities? I thought the China balloon got nothing, is what he said. That thing was in our airspace for what, 36 hours? And it got nothing, even though it went over the entire Midwest, our missile silos, and plenty of bases from A, B, C, D, all the way to Z. But you couldn't rule out on these smaller devices, which you don't even know what they are. We're calling them UFOs, that they somehow would pose a threat, or assuming that they may pose a threat. So how come the China balloon didn't get anything? How come it didn't collect anything? Is this typical for the Joe Biden administration? This is like Eric Swalwell sleeps with Dip Dang Foon, and she's a Chinese spy, but they didn't get anything. Oh, and by the way, allegedly slept with his girlfriend, right? Because when you have a girlfriend, she's just a cover. You don't sleep with her, please. They were doing the beast with 2 backs, the mattress mambo. We know they were. He slept with a Chinese spy, but she didn't get anything. And then Dianne Feinstein's chauffeur for 30 years was a Chinese spy, but they didn't get anything then either. And then, Hunter Biden's laptop and all that. No, they didn't get anything. How come they never get anything? Why does China keep doing this? If they never get anything, why do they keep dumping the money into these new clever ways to take ELINT and human intelligence from the United States? And how do they keep getting all of our wonderful plans for phones and other electronic devices? It's interesting. If they never get anything, what's the point? I don't understand. I guess Joe doesn't understand either.
In consultation with the Canadian government, I spoke personally with Prime Minister Trudeau and from Canada on Saturday.
Oh, that's
and
great.
just as critically, we acted out of an abundance of caution and an opportunity that allowed us to take down these objects safely. Our military and the Canadian military.
A lot of water in between the northern border and Canada, huh? A lot of safety. What happened to the safety of those people? We didn't shoot down the China balloon for 36 hours, but this one, okay.
Are seeking to recover the debris so we can learn more about these 3 objects. Our intelligence committee is still assessing all 3 incidences. They're reporting to me daily and will continue their urgent efforts to do so, and I will communicate that to the Congress.
Are they doing that in a secure location, or are they doing that in his garage at Rehoboth? I kid.
We don't yet know exactly what these 3 objects were, but nothing right now suggests they were related to China's spy.
Wait a second. You don't know what they were. You shot them. Were these Macy Day balloons? What do you mean you don't know what they were? You shot on 3 objects and you had no idea what they were? I listened to the Air National Guard and the F-16 pilots that were like, Yeah. Hello. Yeah, Roger. Yeah, this is Falcon 1. Yeah, this really doesn't look like a balloon. It's and then the Rio dives it. Yeah, this is Falcon 2. It's got some strings coming off of it, and I guess we're gonna call it a balloon. What the hell was it? And why are you shooting it down if you don't know what it is? I mean, that was my whole premise on my show with the China balloon was you don't do anything until you know what it is. And then once you know what it is, and you knew it was from China and their BS story that it hit thermal patterns coming out of the westerlies, you shoot the damn thing down, stat. But you don't just randomly shoot stuff that you don't know. Or this is a used car balloon that went astray. God, this is ridiculous.
Program, or that they were surveillance vehicles from any other country. The intelligence community's current assessment is that these three objects were most likely balloons tied to private companies, recreation or research institutions studying weather or conducting other scientific research.
Whoa. They were used car balloons. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the Macy's Day Parade. Yes, it looks like a giant turkey. Right. Fox 2. Are you kidding me? They shot down civilian balloons? Oh, man. How much did that cost? We'll get to that in a second. This is great.
When I came into office, I instructed our intelligence community to take...
You're fired.
I think that's completely recommended. Donald Trump chimes in with "You're fired."
You're fired.
Oh, boy.
Broad look at the phenomenon of unidentified aerial objects. We know...
Wait, what did he just say?
Aerial objects. Scientific research.
I need to shut up. I was talking to my own show. Hold on.
When I came into office, I instructed our intelligence community to take a broad look at the phenomenon of unidentified aerial objects.
Oh, I want to see the memo on this. Can I get the court reporter to give us the minutes? Let me get this straight. Balloons supposedly have been traversing U.S. airspace since God was a corporal. And supposedly it happened under Donald Trump's presidency, but nobody knew about it and nobody briefed anybody. And it happened without NORAD or SAC or any of the other command stations that protect Northern American airspace. And then all of a sudden you see the China balloon and this whole thing happens. And then there's a leak from an unidentified source in the Pentagon that says, oh, well, this happened under Donald Trump presidency too. But he didn't know and nobody briefed him. And we didn't know until now. So I guess what they're saying is they went through a bunch of mining data and looked through all the overall signatures of what the Chinese balloon was and compared it to other analysis and then found these balloons. Right. As a former intelligence and analyst, how many man hours did we spend on this? How many gazillions of dollars and how many analysts did we commit to that? This is ridiculous. Or do we pop it into the Cray 2 supercomputer and go to Fort Meade and dust that sucker off? That's a BS story. So with all of that, with no presence of mind, with nobody knowing this was happening, Joe frickin' Biden, Mr. Astute, Mr. Basement Dweller himself says, hold on a second, everybody. Come on, man. We've got balloons. We've got to go get the balloons. I'm a clown. I know about balloons. No. I want one scintilla of evidence that Joe Biden had the presence of mind 2 years ago when nobody was talking about this to say, listen, there's a phenomenon out there. It's called balloons. We need to address the balloons because we've got to. Full of shit.
We know that a range of entities, including countries, companies, and research organizations, operate objects at altitudes for purposes that are not nefarious, including legitimate scientific research. I want to be clear. We don't have any evidence that there has been a sudden increase in the number of objects in the sky. We're now just seeing more of them, partially because the steps we've taken to increase our radars, to narrow our...
Over the last 13 days, what a sample. This is like you actually talking about about overall budget and looking at illegal immigrants coming from South America in certain countries, and you guys had 7 days of sample data from like January 23rd till the end of the month, and then said, oh, we're down year over year with a 7-day sample size. So what you're saying is we haven't seen an increase in the last 13 days because we had no idea that this was happening prior to those times. Right.
Radars. And we have to keep adapting our approach to dealing with these challenges. That's why
he's not in good form. He didn't get his medicine this morning. He didn't get his shot. Pronounce a word. You're a president. Sorry, I don't mean to be obnoxious, but well, yes, I do, because that's who I am. But seriously, it's not hard. And if you can't cover this, it would have been fine to have any 3-star come out there and do it for you. In fact, I would much rather have, as silly as our Joint Chiefs are, at least a 2-star come out there and actually talk about this versus you, because you don't know what you're talking about. You can't even ride a bike.
Directed my team to come back to me with sharper rules for how we will deal with these unidentified objects moving forward.
I thought we already had that. I thought you just said I thought we already rewrote the code. That's why you shot down those 3. Oh, forget it.
Distinguishing between those that are likely to pose safety and security risks that necessitate action and those that do not.
How do you identify that? What are the parameters? What are the things you look for? Are they intelligence gathering devices? Do they have some sort of electronic countermeasure? Is there some sort of jamming potential? Is it an EMP? Does it have to give off a certain amount of rads?
But make no mistake, if any object presents a threat to the safety and security of the American people, I will take it down.
As long as it's not a Chinese balloon. If you fly civilian balloons, you're going down. Listen, you sons of bitches, you're done flying balloons over the United States airspace. But if you're China, then you get a pass. You just move along, nothing to see here. Hai jing dang, just let it go over. Who cares? No big deal. Everyone's going to be held accountable, except for China and Russia and Iran. And anyone else that is a country. But if you are a civilian balloon person, you're going down. You're going down to Chinatown. Actually, that was racially insensitive. I apologize. Not Chinatown. Joe Biden.
I'll be sharing with Congress these classified policy parameters when they're completed. And
why are they classified? Why is it classified to know how the United States will react if there is a threat? Doesn't that let our enemies know that if you go ahead and you put them on notice, if you go ahead and cross U.S. airspace or territorial waters, this will happen to you? That's been standard practice. You're not giving anything up. It's an ultimatum. It's saying F around and find out. Nothing wrong with that. Why can't we know? Why is this confidential?
They'll remain classified so we don't give our roadmap to our enemies to try to evade our defenses.
But see, that's not okay. Folks, listen. It's not like he's going to have Wonder Woman stand down with magic lasso and lasso the balloon so our enemies won't know that. It's not like he's going to reproduce Jason and the Argonauts and he's going to pull his freaking Spartacus sword from his sheath and slur it at a balloon. It's not like he's going to get Khaleesi and they're going to rain dragon fire. There's only a couple ways to shoot down a foreign object in the sky. One is with a plane. One is with a drone. You could do it with a helo under the right circumstances. You can get it from a surface to air missile, which we don't have. That's pretty much it. Or you might get some uppity Montanan with a 50 cal if it's low enough to go ahead and get after it. But otherwise, it's not going to take much for the enemy to figure it out. Or we could launch $450,000 heat-seeking missiles. Heat-seeking missiles on something that doesn't have propulsion? How's that possible? But more on that later, I would hope.
Forward, these parameters will guide what actions we'll take while responding to unmanned and unidentified aerial objects. We're going to keep adapting them as the challenges evolve, if it evolves. In addition, I've directed my national security advisor.
Well, if it's a big phenomenon, isn't that ultimately means that it's going to evolve? I mean, since, this guy's Nostradamus and knew this was going to happen 2.5 some odd years ago.
Lead a government-wide effort to make sure we are positioned to deal safely and effectively with the objects in our airspace. First, we will establish a better inventory of unmanned airborne objects in space above the United States airspace.
What? Oh, so you're talking about what Donald Trump put in with Space Force. Oh, not such a bad idea anymore. Are the liberals laughing now? They're like, oh, Joe Biden, congratulations. This guy, congratulations. He created something absolutely amazing. It's called Space Force.
China.
And make sure that inventory is accessible and up to date.
Fantastic.
Second, we'll implement further measures to improve our capacity to detect unmanned objects in our airspace. Third,
objectives.
we'll update the rules and regulations for
Obfuscation.
launching and maintaining unmanned objects in the skies above the United States of America. And fourth, my Secretary of State will lead an effort to help establish common global norms in this largely unregulated space. These steps will lead to safer and more secure skies for our air travelers, our military, our scientists, and for people on the ground as well.
I mean,
That's
the
my
last.
job as your
For all you
president's
peons who
As
pay
the
your
best-
taxes, just want to let you know, you're going to be safe too, because we kind of had to, right? We took care of the military. We took care of the airlines. We took care of the flock of seagulls flying, migrating from the East Coast to the West Coast, or the European laden swallow. But you citizens, we put you in there too. Why? Because I care. I care. I'm Joe Biden. The C in my middle name stands for care. Mr. President, it's R. Whatever.
of the previous days have shown, will always act to protect the interest of the American people and the security of the American people.
Unless it's a Chinese balloon.
Since I came to office, we've developed the ability to identify, track, and study high-altitude surveillance balloons connected with the Chinese military.
What?
When one-
No, you haven't. You missed one entirely. If you have done that, you're taking credit for something, once again, that didn't take place. Then why didn't you catch it? Then why didn't you see it coming over the Pacific? Because we all know you did. Because didn't you tell them to shoot it down? And if you told them to shoot it down and they said no, what does that say about when you found it and when you saw it? Are you telling me that something the size of 3 school buses floating in the middle of the air, slow or not, we missed? And if we did miss it, what have we done to ensure that we will never miss it again? Because all I hear is future proofing. What Joe Biden essentially is saying is that the billions of dollars that we've spent on radant and electronic countermeasures from a radar and early warning system standpoint have been completely useless. That's what he's saying.
One of these high-altitude surveillance balloons entered our airspace over the continental United States earlier in the month. I gave the order to shoot it down as soon as it would be safe to do so. The military advised against shooting it down over land because of the sheer size of it. It was the size of multiple school buses and it posed a risk to people on the ground if it was shot down where people lived.
But the used car salesman balloons, you know, that thing that flips around like this in front of every used car lot, that thing, didn't pose a threat at all? How do you know? You said you didn't know what they were. How do we know? How do we know there weren't green Martians in that thing? How do we know if it wasn't made out of adamantium and it was Weapon X's freaking SR-71 from Marvel Comics?
Instead, we tracked it closely, we analyzed its capabilities, and we learned more about how it operates. And because we knew its path, we were able to protect sensitive sites against collection.
How? Was there somebody out there with a laser? Listen, I worked for the United States government. I know its capabilities. You got something at 40 or 50,000 feet, and you're going to jam its capability from collecting intelligence. You're also going to stop any other system within 50 miles from working. It doesn't work that way. It's not a laser mic. If you're going to pump enough electronic countermeasures and waves out there to interrupt something, you're going to impact other things. It doesn't make much sense that every single state across the path over all areas had the ability to stop the Chinese balloon from collecting data. And if you stop it from collecting visual data, it can still collect electronic data. And if you stop it from collecting electronic data, it can still go ahead and collect other data. You have IR int, you have visual, you have audio. You can go ahead and check frequencies. You can take data. There are so many, you can use FLIR. There are so many other opportunities, especially the size of something that's 3 school buses. How do you guarantee, if you have not intercepted that all data was essentially benign? You can't. And he can't stand up here and say that. Because if he does, he's once again lying. There's a process through this. The FBI just got this stuff into a hangar and is breaking it down. You have no idea how intelligence was disseminated from point A to point B. From the actual end to the terminal end of that system, where that went. Did it bounce off of a satellite? Did it use our own cell phone towers? Did it go ahead and use our cell phone towers to go ahead and radio information? Was it on a micro SD card? Was it sent to a Kodak processing booth? You don't know.
We waited until it was safely over water, which would not only protect civilians, but also enable us to recover substantial components.
But not the Pacific.
For further analytics. And then we shot it down, sending a clear message. Very
clear message that you can send anything you want over U.S. airspace, and we'll make sure you get everything you want before we do anything. Sounds like a plan.
The violation of our sovereignty is unacceptable. We'll act to protect our country, and we did. Now, this past Friday, we put restrictions on 6 firms that directly support the People's Republic Liberation Army, the People's Liberation Army Aerospace Program. That includes airships and balloons, denying them access to U.S. technology. We briefed our diplomatic partners and our allies around the world, and we know about China's program and where their balloons had flown. Some of them have also raised their concerns directly with China.
Their canards.
Our exports have lifted components of the Chinese balloon's payload off the ocean floor. We're analyzing them as I speak.
And we know that they got no data, but we're analyzing. What are you analyzing? What, the overall architectural soundness of it? Were all the welding points efficient? Were there any bubbles or breakage in the welding spots? It's very, very important. What was the overall ergonomic efficiency of this from an aerodynamic standpoint? Was it feng shui? What the fuck are you looking at other than the fact, what did it collect? How did it collect it? And did anything get out? If you haven't established that, then why the hell are you saying that it didn't send out any information? This America, to my audience, tell me I'm crazy. Tell me this makes any sense. And this is all you have to do. For people who are like, oh, it's the Illuminati or the New World Order or Skulls and Bones or whatever. There's enough here for you to be angry about that. You don't have to make stuff up. I mean, all you got to do is listen to this guy for 5 minutes, and it's enough to frustrate anybody. And why are we shooting it down with jets? Was Alec Baldwin not available? I mean, seriously?
What we learn will strengthen our capabilities. Now, we'll also continue to engage with China, as we have throughout the past 2 weeks.
Engage.
As I've said since the beginning of my administration, we seek competition, not conflict with China. We're not looking for a new Cold War, but I make no apologies. I make no apologies, and we will compete. And we'll responsibly manage that competition so that it doesn't veer into conflict. This episode underscores the importance of maintaining open lines of communication between our diplomats and our military professionals. Our diplomats will be engaging further, and I will remain in communication with President Xi. I'm grateful for the work of the last several weeks of our intelligence, diplomatic, and military professionals who have proved once again to be the most capable in the world. And I want to thank you all. Now, look, the other thing I want to point out is that we are going to keep our allies and the Congress contemporaneously informed of all we know and all we learn. And I expect to be speaking with President Xi and I hope we're going to get to the bottom of this. But I make no apologies for taking down that balloon. Thank you very much.
I did not have sexual relations with that balloon. Are you kidding me? I make no apologies. Well, why would you? It was over our airspace. You should make apologies that you didn't shoot it down sooner.
Help you again? Yes.
Let's see if he answers any questions.
Sir, the question was it? There's been criticism. There's been criticism that this wasn't. There's been criticism that this.
Man, I depress. If there's anything more annoying than Joe Biden and his administration, it's the frickin' press.
We're trying to compromise by your family's business relations.
Sir, Mr.
Oh. Decision making wasn't compromised based upon your family business dealings with China. Whoever that, look at his face. He's like, fuck you, man. I come out. You want to talk to me? Are you talking to me? I'll fucking eat your face, man. You want hold my baby. God, look at his face.
Mr. President, there has been criticism.
Break, man.
Did you overreact?
Give me a break, man. Look at that. Look at those eyes, man. Just give me a break, man. You know what he wants to say. You know what? Go F you. That's what he wants to say, but he won't do it.
Mr. President, there has been criticism that this was an overreaction that was done because of political pressure.
You come to my office and ask the question when you have more polite people.
Mr. President, why have you chosen Poland for...
More polite people. Somebody's having a bad day. Well, that's what happens when you wait as long as you have and you are never, ever available. People are going to question you. And since when does the press have to be polite? How rude is it the way you talk to people and the way you openly lie blatantly and you put up KJP and sit there and feed everyone a line of BS every single night and you expect the media to be kind to you? Please, you haven't done anything to deserve that. At least Trump was accessible and he took his hits. You, ridiculous.
your trip to mark anniversary of the war? And what's your message? What?
When are you speaking to President Xi, Mr. President?
Oh, this guy's a clown. Listen, Joseph Biden, I can't get those 9 minutes back. And you might be sitting here going, I can't get those 30 minutes back that I listened to you. I don't care. I am 10 times more entertaining than Joseph R. Biden, Joseph C. Biden. Folks, that's it. That's all I've got to say. This whole thing is a clown show. His entire administration has been a clown show. It's not going to stop anytime soon. It's great to hear that they spent 900,000, 27 or $2.7 million to shoot. No, they missed one. They missed a missile. So if my math is correct, 1,800 plus an additional 450,000, it's like $2.25 million overall on missiles to shoot down one Chinese spy balloon. Sounds good. Let's go ahead and put a sticker on the side of that F-22. And then little Billy's hobby balloon that he flew up there for a science project for his class. And his whole study was, how do geriatrics respond to balloons in the sky? And he got a very positive result that's going to get him an A on his project. And then you have Bucco's Broncos used cars that its balloon was cut because a disgruntled employee ran his 67 Pinto out of the parking lot and peeled out and swung his back end into the balloon string and it cut it. And they shot that down. Bucco's is out of like $36 now. And the last one was probably some hippies who decided to go ahead and throw up a balloon to celebrate the rebirth of a baby seal that was actually run over by a jet skier in the middle of the Atlantic or some shit. And it had a glowing candle attached to it. And then that got shot down. Congratulations, Mr. President. You then have used $2.2 million of U.S. budget heat-seeking missiles on something that has no heat signature. And you've made a mockery of the United States. Congratulations, sir. And by the way, no data collected. I want that proven. I want people to stand up there and put their stars on the line. We had to listen to this crap with Hillary Clinton's server. Oh, they didn't get anything. Right. They called it the salad server and the doorknob server. Everybody got a turn. Ridiculous. And then we find out, obviously, in 2016, their election, that all these emails come out, and whoopsie, we were wrong. How many times has the United States government told us something that isn't true? How many times are we going to listen to it before we say, enough? If you think that China flew a balloon over our country for 36 some odd hours, that it did not collect any intelligence whatsoever, then what Joe Biden just said was an absolute lie, and he should be held accountable for it. The question is, nobody's going to do anything. So what do? We have to go ahead and continue to take a big, giant bite of this shit burger that is this administration. Folks, that's it for my show tonight. It went a while. Hopefully you enjoyed it. You can smile, you can laugh, but also try not to cry. My name is Matthew Spear. I'd love to see you back here again tonight. I'm probably not going to be going live, but I'll see you Friday with a new recorded show and another live show. You can find me at thedumbshow.com. and also across all social media at The Dumb Show. Stop on by, say hello, and please watch the show. God bless and take care of each other. I will go out with a veteran crisis hotline like I do every single night. I will see you soon.
I'm David Boreanaz with the Cast of SEAL team, and we have an important message for returning vets.
We want you to know if you're struggling to cope, there's help and it's just a phone call away.
The Veterans Crisis Line is staffed with experienced professionals who know your struggles.
There's no greater sacrifice in service to our country. We're able to enjoy our freedoms because of it.
Your service is important. You are important.
For vets and their families, the Veterans Crisis Line is here to help 24 hours a day. Please call